Hello, Midaku Yepi. Kiu Kampi, Imachi Apolo, Naha, Iuha Chante Wastea Nabe, Chiu Zapolo. Ne Hewati, Si Chango Makochi ki Hewati alo, we will walk by. And Diane Yahi. My name's Rocky, makes room for them. I'm from the Burt Thigh Band of the Lakota people in Spring Creek, South Dakota. Doksha he ampetukile he Chasha appreciate waunspeke he. My relatives, welcome. We're here along the Minnesota River, and we will be talking about the Red Willow teachings in harvesting. And I'm happy to be here and to share some of our Ocheti Shakoan knowledge, our 7 council fires. We Waha Dakota Makochi Wahialo. This is the Dakota land, and we're here today. The Ocheti Shakoan, we share all our stories. So these are also Lakota stories and Nakota stories, even though we're here in Dakota country. Just like we were talking about Red Willow teachings. You know, someone might say, hey, those are Lakota teachings. Well, if you're in the Ocheti Shakoan, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, these are also your stories too. So we share stories that way. Our language is the same, but there's little differences. Our Lakota, Dakota, Nakota. And we live together as relatives, and we learn to learn the land, learn the stars. We learned that our teachings were also written down in a way. Our teachings are written down, and they're clear for anybody to see at night, and those are in the stars. Those are our writings. Those are our books. Those are our secret symbols and our stories. So we didn't have to write them down on paper and pages and books. The truth is right there every night. They tell us what to do. They say that our relatives are above in the spirit world and we are below the spirit world. So whatever it is they're doing, we do. And we learn by these stories in the sky, these star constellations. We're able to track time even, and we're able to find out when events happen, how long ago. And with our oral tradition, as long as we have our oral tradition and our language, we carry these on. And so these teachings are important. These are your rights to know. And this is the way that we take care of ourselves. It's hard to live kind of this way now in the modern world. We had to assimilate. We had to do a lot of things, but we're trying to make a comeback. We're staying strong to our teachings and our ways, and so it's good to be reminded of our people and the oral tradition, how important it really is. And same with star knowledge. It's everything that our Ocheti Shakoan did. We followed the stars. Everything that is above is below. Our sacred animals, our plants. Ceremony. We're always preparing ahead. As Lakota people, we always had to be ready for anything, anytime, any place. And so we had to learn about our plants and our animals and the stars and the weather. And we followed the buffalo, the tatanka. We lived through the buffalo. We learned that in time that it was the buffalo that were at these sacred sites seasonally. We learned that the buffalo, it was their journey, their spiritual journey, that they were at our sacred sites that reflected in the sky above and below. We learned that the tatanka was our whole way of life. We learned that we came from the Pidamaya, the buffalo people. And when times are hard, like it has been, the world has cleansed itself. Unchimaka, Mother Earth, and these cleansings. We know of these from a flood. We know these from the big earth shake, the continental divide, and most recent, the ice age. These are cleansing because, the human nature of men, sometimes if we don't follow our natural laws, it kind of goes to chaos, and they do bad things, start doing disrespectful things, not giving back, not honoring, not valuing, taking, raping, killing, murdering. And when mankind does that, Unshimaka helps in nature, and these things come, and comes with cleansing. When we look today at what's going on in the world, the wars, even right now, people are doing the same thing as they did in the past. We have to remember our ways and our stories of how to live right with virtues and values and teachings that were our right to know these things. So long ago, a woman, Wopche, she fell as a star. She was called Wopche at first. And then when she came to Unshimaka, she showed herself. And she called herself the White Buffalo Woman. She brought us the white buffalo calf pipe to the Ocheti Shakoan, the Lakota people. She brought this chanupa in a sacred way. It came with a lesson. But she brought us rights to live, how to live right, how to live with respect, honor, courage, love, humbleness, giving, generosity, peace. She taught us how to live by the stars. She taught us how to gather, where to be. She taught us that this chanupa could heal us mentally, physically. This chanupa could bind us as relatives. This chanupa will allow us to hear the voices of these plants and everything that we find sacred. This chanupa was a way for us to reconnect to Unshimaka, to nature, to Mother Earth. We also realize that chanupa helps us being born and helps us live right on Earth and helps us go back to the journey we need to be through the stars, back into the sky world. That's our journey as Lakota people. While we're on here, walking this earth, we have to learn how to manage our mental, our physical, how to respect, how to give, how to reciprocity, things like that. We're caretakers of the earth. That's our role. That's what we were told to do by the Creator long ago, to take care of Mother Earth. And so we do. This is what the best we do. We have taken care by going to these sacred sites, honoring. It's a hard walk. It's hard. It's a hard walk to be good all the time. It's a hard walk to be generous all the time. It really is. I mean, it's easier said than done. But to do it on purpose daily is our daily challenge, our journey. As we grow older, we have to be wise, giving, have compassion, things like that. Practice it. Learn how to not talk bad about others, not to partake in things like that, not to be, eventually not even drinking, not even using alcohol, not drugs, things like that. You'll find when we learn more about the pipe, the chanupa, gathering Chasha like this. These are sacred things. We have to have clear mind, good hands. We have to be good relatives to also be a part of this world. So we have to think about those things when we're out here. You have to think about your own journey, where you're at, how honest you are with your own self, how much you practice your own values purposely, things like that. We have to think about those while we're out here. And the healing that we're going to use. So this chanupa, this pipe, that a lot of us tribes have now and adopted from the Lakota. A lot of tribes have their own way of how their pipes came. But this is our story is of how the chanupa came to us. But Tesawe, she also taught us how to harvest this red willow. It's in the stars. They were to appear in the winter fall-winter constellations. They are two triangles. They kind of look upside down. Those are the limbs, two limbs that stick out sideways. There's a point there, and a point there, and then a point there, and a point there. That used to appear after the fall equinox in the sky. The sun's ecliptic path would go through this constellation. This means that the spirit of these plants that are sacred, that have their own star constellation, their spirit goes somewhere when they sleep. It goes into the sky. And the animals, the sacred animals that hibernate, their spirit goes into the sky also, in the stars and the winter constellations. You can see them at night. And we knew these things long ago. And so the red willow, the Chasha, is telling us it's red even. It's the brightest thing out here when everything's brown and kind of gray. You can see it over here standing out as red. It's saying, pick me, harvest me. This is the time it's telling us to. The Chasha epushie, that's what we call it. Epushie is the word meaning it's dry. We're going to dry it out. The Chasha is, the cha is a wood, and Chasha is the way we can describe the color of it, the red. Chasha epushie. So it has, this sacred plant has no nicotine. There's nothing cancerous in it. If you harvest it right and you use the red bark, that adds as a pain reliever. But there's three parts to this to harvest. The red bark is good to keep, to make tea out of, to be healthy. Like I said, it's good to if you have headaches or any kind of ailments, painful, you boil that Chasha bark and make tea. Wakalabi. And then the inner bark is the bark that is what we need, is the bark that we're going to use to fill our chanupa, our pipes. Those are the same things we use, we carry, and we offer things to animals or plants when we harvest them, or we're going to talk about sacred things. We'll put them out, or we're going to put them on food, right? Chasha, it's not tobacco, it's Chasha, right? Tobacco is foreign. It's a you know, it was from Europe, and wasn't part of our ways. And so, you know, it's got nicotine in it, cause cancers, a lot of, you know, not really, it's really good things. And I think through a loophole long ago, through hard times, through ceremony, we were allowed to use tobacco. This is how that came in. And sometimes in the city or wherever, assimilation happens, and maybe even some of us forgot how to do these things. So now it's easy for us to go to the store and buy tobacco. And we forget about that. Those are only supposed to be for hard times, that tobacco loophole. So we need to go back to our old ways, our grassroots teachings, and stay away from the tobacco, because really we're doing more harm with the tobacco if we're smoking it, because we're just putting that cancer right back in us. So this inner bark in this red willow is safe. It's safe. You know, these plants were given to us for health, good reasons, you know. They didn't give us the tobacco for this. You know, so this is our tobacco. It's healthy. So we need to come back to, we need to work for these things, right? Sometimes we have our phones, and we want information fast, and we think we're entitled to information even. Those teachings are hard to do because people's mentality have grown to that. It's easy to go to the store and buy tobacco for ceremony. But it's also easy to come out here and do it. It's not hard. It's easier. So those are kind of the teachings we, you know, and talk about today. In our, there's really a lot more to teach on Chasha. Really, there's a lot of teachings more with it. How we use it, You know, we in the city or or out there in the reservation, you know, I see observations of how our people use the tobacco and how it is used. Another way is to make a bind, to make like a promise when we offer this to a friend. Hey, would you come to my school and talk about knowledge? Then we give them tobacco. If they take it, then they're kind of obligated to show up and become, they're making a promise with us. And everybody around us saw it, even if it was the air or the plants or a bird. They all saw this happen. And so we stick to that. Now when that day comes, no matter what happens, we have to be there. So this is how important we see when we use this Chasha in that way also, making verbal kind of promises and contracts. You know, like, hey, help us do this at this time. You know, it can be used for that. It could be like, hey, could you show me a song? Could you teach me how to quill? Could you teach me how to fish or how to make a canoe? Things like that. You know, if we ask for teachings, it's really good to offer tobacco first. And you know, I just want to be reminded of that. You know, I know maybe we know these things, but it's good to be reminded of those. And you know, I've learned to also do this every year in my own journey. I also am guilty of going to the store and buying tobacco. Don't get me wrong, I've done those things, but I've also learned to not do that anymore. I also learned to come out here and just, I find it a lot more rewarding and more healthier to do these things. You connect, you get to see nature, and sometimes things will show themselves to you out here, and it's a good thing, good signs. And so we're gonna go down here and have a look and see what kind of Red Willow, how it is down here, and offer back some Chasha or a sema or tobacco, you know, whatever. We have an offering, so we're gonna offer it to the plant, to the Red Willow, to the spirit of it, and ask it and thank it and give thanks and say you're gonna help people on their journey with the work, this medicine, Pejuta, Chasha. So these teachings come from long ago, and it's good to retell them today again, to be reminded of a journey of a lot of things that happen in humankind, even, and what we're capable of doing to ourselves, you know, good and bad, and how nature has showed us those things too. All right, this is a good amount. This right here will be enough to make a really good amount for anybody to have a personal use. It doesn't take much, so if you're going to harvest some, notice how there's a lot. We don't need to take a lot of it, just take one or two, and it should hold you enough, and then come back, make more if you need more. My first time, I can remember the first time I went on my first harvest. I was a younger teenager maybe, and it was the time when I got into ceremony. It was just the way it is. I grew up that way in the house. The house was already doing ceremony, so I grew up in the house where it was just the way of life. I had to do it. So I had to do a hamblecha when I was a kid, younger man. I'd go out in the woods with a chanupa, test myself to be connected, a journey. So I had to do that. In order to do that, I had to have a chanupa, a pipe. So my grandma, my grandpa, my dad got together. They knew people. Someone made me, one of my relatives made me a chanupa, my first one. I still have it. I still use the same one. I got it long ago. So when I got it, I got these teachings, and my dad took me out in Spring Creek, and he showed me about this plant, how to take it, how to use it. Kind of the same things I'm sharing with you. And then we get back to the house, and then my grandma kind of takes over on the teachings. She tells me how to take the inner bark. She tells me about the you can make tea out of the red bark for pain reliever. And she also taught me how to dry it out. And I remember that day clear. It was in the winter. It was cold. I remember it very well. One of my favorite memories, because those people have made their journey since. But these teachings are good to remember and to share. And so I wanted to share that with you guys today. Also, Red Willow, there's another story also with Red Willow, is the dream catcher. And this was the original plant used in that. If you ever heard any versions of dream catchers, I haven't heard people talking too much about or making them. Remember, there was a time where everybody was making dream catchers and all kinds of weird, nice patterns to make. I got into making them when I was a kid, and we used to use the Red Willow too. And there's lots of versions. There's a Anishinaabe version, there's a Lakota version, probably a lot of other tribes that had dream catchers. Mostly they're for children. We hang them by their cradle board. Depending on what story you listen to or heard, the spider made a web. The spider first made the dream catcher. It was said that they put a owl feather on there. So whenever you see a really old dream catcher, you'll usually see it made out of red willow. You'll usually see one or two or more beads on there, and you'll usually see an owl feather on there. The owl is wise. It's a protector. It's a night bird. Some tribes fear the owl. Some are like, hey, that's just what owls do. So it's just depending on what tribe you're from. The owl is always a wise part. So it's said that in the morning, the story of the bad dreams go through and they get caught on the web. The bad dreams will form like a water dew. That bead on there represents that water. So when the sun comes up in the morning, like it is kind of right now, the rays go through that beam, that dew of water that's caught in the dream catcher, and it's going to release it. So, or the other version is it catches good dreams and does the same thing. So the red willow is really good, found that we had a lot of uses for it. Welcome back. Harvested our Chasha at this moment when I bring it home. Have a nice workspace, right? Table, clear just like how it is, and have a nice knife. And throughout the years, I've tried all kinds of different methods. I have tried many kinds. I find that a lot of this is really therapeutic. It's very for a lot of students and a lot of people that have shared these teachings with, we find that it's really good therapy with their hands, with their mind, and so there's a lot of really good benefits of just harvesting it. There's really a lot of side benefits of motor skills, your mind. Also, to harvest this with a good mind, good intentions, good positive thoughts. We want to be in a good space. Also, when we harvest this, we want to make sure that because we're going to put good energy, we're going to use this in a good way. So if you're feeling a little off, or if you're feeling a little, you haven't eaten yet or something, you need so you'll know if a good time to work on your Chasha, right? So we want to make sure we're in a good space. Sometimes maybe even smudge a little bit if you need to, because it's a sacred thing. It's really a a good sacred thing that we're doing here, where we're following the directions of the people in the stars. We're preparing ahead. This is why we're doing this in the winter. We're always preparing for the next season. So what we're doing now is we're preparing for a big pipe ceremony. All the pipe carriers on the earth and in the sky. So this is what they're doing up above. Our relatives above already, they're harvesting at the same time. And this is why we're doing it with them. They're preparing for the spring ceremonies that come with rain, thunder, lightning. We're preparing for our season of prayers, for the ceremonies, the harvest of animals, plants, our well-being, things like that. So wintertime, it's a good time to make our peace pipes, our bowls, our stems. We cut ash to make our stems, and we cut Chasha at the same time. So these are the things that kind of what we do in our wintertime. And storytelling. This is a time where our grandparents become our teachers. This is where they tell us all the creation stories from beginning to end. Sometimes it takes months, these winter months, to tell a whole story. Sometimes it'll take 4 or 5 days to tell a story. It was purposely like that because of these long days and night, a lot of good teachings, healings, etc. A lot of times where we can only talk about certain spirits, even maybe, maybe when the snow is on the ground is the only time we're able to allow this time for the story. So depending on where you are, what community you are, and so I wanted to say a little bit about that because we want to be in a good space when we work on our Chasha. When the rain and thunder and lightning come in your own community, rain, thunder, lightning makes that sound, the vibrations, frequencies, those physical things from a sacred bird, the wakia. This is their way of waking up these plants and waking up animals that are sleeping, hibernating. This is telling the world in our community that Wahilo, I'm here, the thunder and lightning, the seasonal changes are here. And we're bringing back life. We're wakening up Mother Earth and the things that are in her sleeping, plants, animals. There's a transition coming. We're preparing for this transition in the spring equinox. You're going to see a different change of stars in there. There's going to be a sweat lodge. There's going to be a chanupa pipe. And the sun is going to be the actual light, a coal that's going to light all these things when this happens. So this is why we're preparing. This is why we're always preparing ahead, right? So as the Ocheti Shakoan people in the wintertime, we're preparing our minds with these stories, creation stories, medicines, how things are used, teachings, how to make things, how to prepare for our big spring ceremonies where we all get to pray together and offer for a new year, etc. It's a way of life. This is what our people in the stars are telling us to do these, so this is what we're doing down here, best we can. So having said that, I wanted to come in this with a good mind, good intentions. And so like I was saying, what I do is now I remember everything I was shared with, and this red bark, right? Normally, at least there's lots of ways to make this, I'm sure. Don't get me wrong, this is not the only way, but this is the way our teachings were at the time where I was growing up in Rosebud and Spring Creek. And so the red bark is really good for boiling, for medicine, to keep us healthy, right? So there's a lot of benefits for pain relief. Maybe we got run over by a buffalo or something, I don't know. We need a quick tea for our headache. Maybe we went to war. Maybe we're recovering from a battle or something, just things. Maybe we fell through the ice or something. So this is our version of our pain relief, and it works really well. I've had this tea my own self many times. Normally, when we make a batch of Chasha to smoke or to offer prayer, we don't mix the red willow, the bark, with the bark. We keep it separated. And so we're only after the middle bark. There's three layers. The first layer is this red bark. The middle layer is the soft, white, greenish inner layer. That's what we're after. And the last layer is just the red willow itself. You'll find that you can't go any more deeper unless you really force a knife in. And so once we have it all peeled up, there's a lot of good things we use with this. As you can see, it's straight. I've seen people make arrows out of it, right? Or dream catchers, right? There's another, we were talking about dream catchers earlier, so there's, it's not a wasteful thing, and if anything, it could be firewood, it could be, so really we could do a lot of things. We've learned to not just throw it away. Everything is very useful, and we're going to save the red bark. I like to save it even if I don't use it or if I don't need it, right, for pain, but I'll still save it because, man, make tea somewhere down the road. Maybe I have a toothache or something, and this will help me later down the road, and it's fresh. It's this year's harvest. The best way is to keep it jarred and in glass jar nowadays, mainstream, right? But long ago, it'd be nice to put it in a nice parfleche container, like a rawhide box, or a buckskin kind of brain-tied kind of leather was perfect enough to keep. It's enough to keep it dry and cool, and that's how we can, carried it. And then we usually would keep it with our chanupa, our pipe, in a pipe bag. So we'll maybe keep it in another container in our pipe bag. So I like to make a big harvest as much as I can. Make a big pile, and then like you'll see a little pile I'll make, and I like to just leave it overnight, and then the next day that's when I'll put it in my container. By then it's dry. It's really, and if you do it really fast, like say we just harvested today and we're gonna get the middle bark now. So if you do that right away, what happens is the inner bark is gonna be really nice. It's gonna stay like clean. It's going to be greenish even. It'll stay like that all year round. If you don't harvest it right away, you cut it, but you bring it home and you're going to work at it another time, the inner bark will be darker and brown, and you'll see a big difference in it. But so this is why I like to do things fresh, right? We just harvested it today. Let's then I just was taught to, if we're going to do this, then we have to do it all the way to the end, right? So it's always like finishing something. Make sure we have closure in everything we finish. Not just this, but in life, right? We want to, if we start something, we got to be able to finish it. So that's how the Dakota teachings are. Don't start something and then go halfway and never finish something. If we do things like that, it is said, though, as we grow old, everything in life we'll start but never finish. So those are good teachings to know even, right? Once we start something, make it a finish it, have that closure. That way you can walk away knowing we just did something, we don't have to come back to it. Then if we do things like that, in life you will accomplish amazing things that you start. Maybe a job, maybe a family, a marriage or something, a relationship. You're going to go through it and be with it all the way to the end. So that's these teachings are really valuable, more than just doing it, right? You can see the value in it just by it talks about a life, a journey even. And so there's really how you harvest it and how you these things is on a deep level, your own spiritual level of your journey. So, all right. Having said that, let's go right into what I would do. Seeing this really big piece, right? I wouldn't feel real too comfortable working with a big piece like this. So what I would do at home is I would break it up little pieces. I'd maybe get scissors and cut these and put those to the side, and then, kind of clean this up a little bit, and then start cutting little segments, little sticks. And those are the parts that you want to work on a little bit at a time, right? That's what I mean. It's real therapeutic. I've done this many different ways throughout the years. I've done it with my own bare hands with no knife. Peeled all these things with myself. See, look at my nails sharp enough. I can just make a line right down the middle, right? See, and you can see a nice cut. And with my thumb, I'm just peeling it away. See this red bark? That's the bark. So you can literally do this without tools. Your own hand is a tool. And when you do this, you'll find very therapeutic, very peaceful. You think about good things. You think about your ceremonies you're going to be at this summer, the relatives, what kind of food you're going to eat, all the people you haven't seen for a while. And you can make a lot of this to gift them away, give out gifts. Like I do that a lot. I make a batch usually and make sure my mom has a batch, right? Things like that, and other people that I know that are, I like to gift these to people that also make it. You know, we trade maybe. A lot of these teachings come with their own family ways of making their own Chasha. Maybe they add, you know, bear root. Maybe they add a little piece of sage to it. Maybe they add some flour or some other herbs. So this is right here, this is that, you can see clearly this is red, and the other side is green, it's fresh. And so since we harvested it, it'll stay that way. And this is the part that we are after, this light green. That's the part that we're after. And so I just did it with my thumb. You see, like it was so simple and so easy. And then this is the other way I'm going to show you, right? We have a knife, same thing. I would make a crease down the middle. And with this knife, I could just easily start picking away at it. But with a knife, though, you're most likely to get into this, I would suggest not to do what I'm doing right now. I'm just doing this on purpose to show you what not to do. It's really easy to do this way, but what you're doing is you're taking a lot of the inner bark now that's stuck in it, so you can see the inner bark real close. So there's still, but if you just take your time and do it by I would recommend it just to use your nail. But you don't have to. There's lots of ways of doing it. And after that, so now say let's, you know, I want this green part now. And so what I would do is I would use a knife, preferably not using your thumb on this part. The thumb is really good just for the red bark, but you need a nice little knife, just sharp, like this. I've used a butter knife, I've used a spoon, I've used anything with a sharp edge really will work well. A bone, an antler, a rock, right? Things like that. And what you do though is you're going to just go back and forth, little movements. This back and forth thing is going to make it fuzzy. I like to call it fuzz. So see this fuzz that's accumulating right on the blade? There it is. This fuzz, that's the gold. That's the stuff that you work hard for. It should look just like that. It should not look like big chunks of wood chips that I see people trying to sell. Hey, look at I sold this, and I'm like, what are these? Just cut up wood chips. You know, it should look like this. It should be really small, fine and fuzzy, and it is like that. It is fuzz. And so that's the part that we're after. That's the inner bark. This is the part that has no nicotine. There's no chemicals. It's pure. Look at it. It's like water. And if you smell it, it smells sweet. And if you harvest it the same day like we just did, it'll stay this color. That's the amazing beauty thing about it. Because a lot of people, my bros will say, hey, how come your Chasha is so green and looks like you just harvested it? It's because I harvested it right away, right? So that's kind of the trick. If you wait a few days, even a whole day, you'll have a whole different product. It'll be a darker color. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying if you like that fresh green smell and taste, that it stays with it. So just remember that if you harvest it right away, you're gonna have a finer, better product. You just will, because that's how it should be, right? You start something and you finish it to the end. This is why we only harvested one. If we took like 20 of them, then I'd be like, man, we got to harvest these before we leave today. So I wanted to make sure we only took one, because it's a lot of work, and we do this out of respect. You know, I don't want to take way too much than I have to. I can always go back and get another one tomorrow if I have to. Maybe others are looking for it too, so I want to make sure that the community has enough for everybody. We have to keep those things in mind when we harvest also. We can't get greedy and take more. That's not how, it's not our ways, right? And so this is a really simple, that's just it. There's not much to it. That's just the way I do it, and I take my time. That's just it, real small, and I take my time. And really, if you just work at it, it'll go by really fast. You could harvest this whole stick in 5 minutes, really, that fast. And you can see I just harvested a little bit in a matter of small time. And I would make 2 separate piles. This is the red pile that I'm going to use later in tea for any kind of headaches, just anything minor. You can even make something up make it just for the heck of it to drink. It's healthy. There's a lot of good vitamins in there in the tea. This is the Chasha. I would leave this overnight or just in open space, not in a container. If you do put this on accident in a container or in a baggie, what's going to happen is it's going to be moldy. You're going to waste all your stuff. It's going to mold overnight. It just will, and it's not going to be healthy anymore. So remember that. Don't bag it right away. It's going to turn into mold. You just have to trust me on that. And so keep it keep it fresh. And this is why that époussier, Chasha époussier, to dry it out, right? So that even to dry it out is a process. We have to make sure we give it space, its own space, and let it do its own thing. And it only takes a whole night and a day exchange, and now we can use it tomorrow. We put this in a parfleche, in a rawhide, or a nice buckskin, and we'll store it that way. Nowadays, or a glass jar is what I would prefer. A glass jar. I use all three of these things in my own journey of carrying Chasha, and there's so much more stories we could add to this great medicine, I call it. The big medicine. It is medicine. It's pejuta. This is what our teachings have taught us to heal physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. We learn how to use this plant in a good way. It's helped our people in our struggles and our hard times, and they will continue to help us as long as we learn these ways and practice it, right? Go out and do these things on purpose. Bring your people, bring your kids. It's not, if we can all just appreciate the things in our own space, in our community, we will find that there are many more medicines right around us. Mullein is another one that grows in the city, right? Mullein is good for lungs, for COVID. A lot of plants out here, just in this community in Minneapolis, St. Paul area today, where we got this. There's lots of medicines out there, and this is just one of them. This is what we do in the wintertime. And we talked a little bit about humanness and humanity, and the good and bad of it, and the journey of that, and our own journey, and where we are today. All we can do is we can do our best today, and best with our neighbors and neighboring tribes, right? Nobody's is better than each other. We should all see each other as relatives, not enemies. Work with each other, encourage each other. No lateral violence. Be healthy. See everybody as a relative. The plants and the animals and the water, and we try to live together like that in a good way. So this I would just kind of put in a pile. This is for the pain reliever tea, right? Look at that. It's beautiful. And this is our partial of the good stuff. That's the gold. That's the stuff we're after, and that's all right here. All that needs to come off. So I just only took the red layer off with my thumb, and now with a nice little knife, I can come back later and make this all into fuzz. See, look at that fuzz. It's just instant, and it's just so fast and quick and easy. This is the stuff we're after. There it is. This is the stuff we work all winter long for, because we need enough to last us all through the summer, spring, summer, fall again. We need enough to last us to harvest another batch next winter. That's the ideal thing to do. So depending on how much you're into your ceremony, you want to make a lot. And so I try to make a lot also for my own self, because I like to give some away, and I've learned to just try to use it daily. And with these teachings, I'm going to say, Wopila, thank you for letting me share what knowledge that, I'm still learning also things always about teachings, and it's never ending about these. So I appreciate Miigwech and John and the people here in our community healing and having the ability to have things like this, teachings for our community, not just Lakota, Dakota, Anishinaabe, all kinds of. We have a lot of good teachers in our community to share. Like I say, Wopila for you guys and your work in the community. I appreciate that. Knowledge you guys for your good work. So I think that's about everything that I wanted to share about the teachings of they're real simple, right? But there's really a lot of meaning to it. It really is. It's a good journey for all of us to be on, to heal past trauma, history, to be a part of it, to walk the walk. That's all we can do is the best we can. And this is one of our teachings to do such things. So I encourage you guys to go out and do this. This is your right. This is your right to heal and a right to these stories. So Wopila, that's all I have. And I want to say Doksha. Okay, I'll see you guys later and appreciate you guys.